Hello, everybody. Um, very excited for another episode of Heart Mind Happy Hour, and very excited today and honored to have Dr. Igor Jerman here with me from Slovenia. He is the lead scientist for the NeoRhythm, professor and director of the researcher at the Bion Institute, and we'll be discussing the NeoRhythm and also biological coherence, some of the science behind the NeoRhythm. I am Holly Copeland. I'm a scientist myself and human potential coach, biohacker, and I run the Community Heart Mind Alchemy Lab, a group of biohackers, consciousness explorers, meditators, just very kind people, all working on personal improvement, but also working towards a kinder, gentler, better world together. So really excited today to bring Dr. Jerman here to discuss a little of this science behind the NeoRhythm and have a just hopefully a warm and lively discussion about some of the science in electromagnetic field technology like the NeoRhythm. So welcome, Dr. Jerman. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me to this session, and greetings to everybody and to you, of course. And okay, so yeah. Let's begin.
Let's begin. All right. Well, I think a wonderful place to begin is just to describe a little bit about your background and your current position and what led you to working on development of the NeoRhythm.
Okay. So my background is that I'm a biologist, so a professor of theoretical biology, including also bioelectromagnetics. And now I work mostly as a professional leader and a CEO of the Bion Institute, a small institute actually that tackles the matter and the research of bioelectromagnetics and also the so-called new biology. That is about what you mentioned in the introduction about the coherent states of electromagnetic field in organisms and the subtle field or biofield and so on. So this is what is mostly our research is composed of. Yeah. So because since its founding, we have researched the electromagnetic aspect of life. Actually, our institute was founded in 1990, so it's 30 years old, even more. So since its start, we have researched this electromagnetic aspect of life, and this aspect of life means two things. First, the influence of electromagnetic waves or pulses or stimulation on organisms. This is one part, so the influence. And the other part, which is also very interesting, is the research of the genuine or innate electromagnetic nature of organisms. And here these coherent states come into, now, how we met with the NeoRhythm? Well, because we researched this bioelectromagnetic phenomena, one of my tasks was also to do clinical evaluations for would-be medical devices or programs working on the basis of electromagnetic stimulation. And on one such occasion, we met with Marco, who is the leader of NeoRhythm, I mean, of this MTCN technology. Its producer, actually, and we at our institute helped him to develop the device. We suggested him, a lot of things about the programs, about their use and so on. So we actually, at our institute, represent the professional background for the neorhythm device. And we also did two researches of the two programs used in this device for relaxation and for enhancing vigilance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
okay, great. And I want to talk a little bit about those studies a little bit later, but before we move to that, I did look through the presentation that you gave on that's on ResearchGate on 2013 at an international symposium on biological coherence, which I just found really interesting, and it, you know, obviously underlies this.
was it in Poznan?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you discuss some of the foundational quantum physics, like with David Boehm's work, and implicate-explicate order, and the microtubules. So I just would love to talk a little bit about some of that, as some of the foundational sort of evolving understanding about coherence in biological organisms that then some of these, you know, technologies like the NeoRhythm might influence. So can you just, do you feel comfortable just describing a little bit about that, kind of the highlights of how you understand it works, or what the evolving understanding?
Well, this is a large theme, you know.
Yeah, I know it is.
Not a trifle, but okay. Let me try to.
Okay, we have 5 hours.
Shape it,
no.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, no problem then. Okay. Now, yes, if we come back to Professor David Bohm, it may be of interest that I actually met him and spoke with him in 1986 when I studied the Open University in Milton Keynes. So I visited him in London, and so I have a very interesting talk with him. And after that, also with his successor, Haile. So what attracted me with this theory was that it spoke about the holistic understanding of the universe, one thing which is very important and interesting, and it goes in contrast or in opposition with what Einstein actually did. I don't know if you know that Einstein, which is a very famous physicist, maybe the most famous scientist in the world, okay, he was a genius for sure, and his relativity theory was really a very high invention of human mind. But in general, he introduced so-called Einstein's, is called by him, you know, separability of everything, so that we are actually separated by the velocity of light, so that any object in the universe, according to Einstein, is its own isolated island, you know, only touched by light, but from the past. So instantaneously, you know, we are the whole universe is fragmented. You know, we don't know what is going on Alpha Centauri or on Andromeda, and you know, okay, this is true in certain respect, but what quantum mechanics found, you know, was that at a certain level of existence, all things are innerly connected, you know, and the so-called phenomenon of entanglement of two separated particles, you know, that were together at certain moment, and that can, you know, it is proved today, you know, that they remain connected even if they are very, very much separated. I don't, if you know that today, or it's not, it's very, very recent, yes, that they proved these two particles were really connected from the certain station above the Earth, you know, when they were 100,000 kilometers away and so on. So it's now really proved, you know.
I did
So
see
if you
that.
come back to the David bomb, you know,
Yep. And the
as
double
I told
slit,
you,
the double slit
yes,
experiment also confirms the everything is in effect
yes,
out.
yes, this dual
Yep.
state of matter and
Yep.
waves and so on. Okay, but what is interesting, really very important and profound in David Bohm's theory is that at a certain level of existence, which he called implicate order, everything is connected. And at that level, he also spoke about the so-called hollow movement, something that everything is an connected, you know, entangled dance, you know.
Mhm.
Only on the surface, in the so-called explicate order, we do not perceive this inner order. So this is one thing maybe of interest. So now if we come back to organisms, in organisms, it would be of interest if this implicate order is in some way connected with life, you know, with being alive.
Mhm.
And there is a very interesting theory proposed by Fröhlich, Herbert Fröhlich, from England in, let's say, 1968 was his first article, and then this theory was evolved further from Italian group of quantum physicists in terms of quantum field theory. So this theory speaks about our innate or genuine electromagnetic field of every organism that is at least partially coherent, you know. This means that all waves are synchronized like in the laser, you know. So that troughs and the peaks are, you know, at the same point, at the same time, yeah. And this means that the whole organism is innerly connected by this special electromagnetic field. It was theoretically proposed by Herbert Fröhlich, but it was to some degree proved also by certain experimentalist scientists, like the group of Professor Pokorny in Prague, or some other, like Pop, maybe you know Pop, Fritz Pop with his light, you know. And so now what we learned from this is that the organisms are not only complex biochemical machines, but have also a certain level where they are something much more, you know, the wholes, real wholes, you know, because if we regard on the organisms from the level of molecules, you know, then we have an outlook as it was famous in, let's say, towards the second half of the, or first half of the 18th century, where all organisms were seen as very complicated automata, you know, like toys today, you know, and or we would say like computers, but in essentially automatic, you know, so that they can be split or fragmented into their parts and then, you know, collected again. But even in biology of late 18th century, Lamarck, you know, perhaps you know Lamarck, it was clear that there is a principle of life which is a principle that is higher than only, you know, this level of, let's say, biochemistry or some mechanical parts, you know, physical parts. And that by this principle, organisms are wholes, you know. So we should know from this that we have a electromagnetic field that is coherent, so it integrates the whole body into one whole. And of course, we can, and body operates through this coherent field, and this field also works on molecules. So there is some change. It is all I would say elaborated in the theories of this Italian group of physicists, and also by Herbert Fröhlich and other scientists. I have no time to go into details here, but through the resonance principle, you know, third molecular interactions, or, you know, this biomolecular, biochemical, can be steered, you know, by this electromagnetic field, or our envelope, or this coherent electromagnetic field, so that our biochemistry is at least partially coordinated and ordered by this field. This is one of its very important missions, you know. And of course, one can then, or I will say, the status or state of the living organism. So if this living organism is normally alive, or if it is ill, or is just to die, you know, it all depends also not only on the biochemistry, but also on this coherent electromagnetic field. And now you can influence, therefore, the health status or well-being of any organism by the appropriate influencing of this field. So this is where we can meet the NeoRhythm device and its regimes with the theory that I spoke about.
Yeah, great. And let me just ask you a little bit about the field. So the field itself, can it be strengthened? Do we know that? Can it be more ordered or less ordered? Or is it inherently whole and, you know, perfect, I guess?
Well, it's again a very large theme, you know. But to be short,
I'm asking you the simple questions.
Yeah, okay, it's very simple. Okay, no problem. So,
and I'm thinking a little bit of chaos theory here. I mean, it seems the ordered field actually kind of debunks chaos theory, right? Because a little bit. Maybe that's not fair to bring.
I mean, one thing which is important here, yes, this field is not totally ordered, because you know, totally ordered field have crystals. You know, crystals are perfectly ordered, and they are not alive by our standards. You know, I mean, you may have your own opinion if at certain level these crystals are alive or have some inner life by themselves. But speaking in terms of ordinary conception of what is alive, you know, they are not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're
so this is
frozen light, right?
Yeah, this is one extreme. You know.
Yep.
Viruses are interesting. Now we are in this COVID crisis, so because viruses outside of body are like crystals. You can crystallize viruses. You know, this is one interesting aspect. So they are actually, viruses are alive only in the body. You know, in the sense that when they integrate with our body, but it's another thing.
Okay,
let's leave it.
Well, that'll be an interview for another time.
Yeah, for another time. Okay, so what is here interesting is, yeah, that this is one extreme. Yeah, so to have a absolutely ordered field, electromagnetic field too. You know, on the other extreme we have complete randomness. You know, complete noise, something. You know, so it is recognized now in many sciences or biological sciences, actually, in, let's say, system biology, that life is somewhere in between absolute order and absolute disorder. So to be alive means to have a proportion, you know, and some equilibrium between these two states. And when you are on the one side too much, you know, then you are in certain, you are ill, yeah, okay. It is not so much known, but for instance, if your heartbeat is very, very regular, you know, you're actually you are very endangered, you know, to have a collapse of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So the heartbeat should be a little random, you know.
Yeah. So that is that the sort of the theory behind heart rate variability. High variability actually is healthier.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Heart variability, yes. It's all this, yeah.
Yeah.
But we shall not go into the
No,
details.
let's not go into that.
It's not that, yeah. But it's an interesting theme, but
Yeah.
for
Side
some
note.
other time.
That was
yeah.
a side note. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay. So yes, if I answer your question, I mean, so this electromagnetic field can be more coherent or less coherent.
Okay.
And there is a theory even proposed by Fröhlich, this pioneer, you know, this theory, that cancer, for instance, means that certain cells actually evade this field and develop their own field. That is very chaotic, and they do not respect this envelope, this organism's field, and also that they begin with this ceaseless replication, you know, multiplication, and so on. So this means that in this respect, our electromagnetic field is too much disordered, you know. And of course, you may bring this disorder by certain chemicals, you know, cancerogenic chemicals, or you may bring or actually start this disorder by being emotionally disrupted, or, you know, too ambitious, but you cannot achieve this. So there may be many, of course, also by certain genetic, you know, how it is called, so that you have some, okay, let's dismiss. I mean, if you are genetically
you have some genetic issue or defect
yes,
or something.
yes. So this all may, of course, in certain sense, influence in a destructive way your this bioelectromagnetic envelope, and by this you may get cancer, for instance, or other illnesses. I mean, every illness actually means that the coherent field is somewhat damaged, you know, and that some other field that is not your innate, your genuine field, is inside you. This means that it's something like parasitic field,
Yeah.
Now, yeah, and now the issue is if you can have a strong field, of course. I mean, all these certain practices, like ordinary some yoga or
I would think meditation, chanting,
whatever,
or even
chanting, whatever.
Even energy medicine, like you know, acupuncture, things like that are reinstituting.
Sure.
They're working on the energy system. Reiki.
Yes, may, you know, may induce or may help to reestablish your own field. Actually, all these practices help your own field to reestablish itself.
Yep.
This is actually self-healing in a way. And this is important. So the health state depends on the state of your electromagnetic field, on its coherence. I mean, again, it shouldn't be too coherent, but on a certain level. What I would add here is that this field is complex, you know. I mean, there is a field in certain tubes, yeah, and these tubes should match these microtubules that you mentioned
Yeah.
in the
Yeah. Talk
introduction.
a little bit about
Okay.
the relationship between the coherent field and microtubules.
I mean, it's a very
Complex.
abstract theme, but okay. It seemed, according to the theory, you know, this coherent field, this is this Italian group developed this theory. So this field should be limited into the network of very small tubes that would penetrate all the body, you know. And they calculated that the diameter of this tube should match the diameter of microtubules, you know, so that it seems that microtubules follow actually this field. And by this we can understand a very, very interesting and fascinating order, you know, when the cell divides, you know, you have this radiating field of microtubules, and this is so fantastically ordered because every chromosome should go into this or that direction and so on. Every should be splitted in right proportions. And the microtubules do this work. This is one of their work. They have other missions too, you know. So, and of course, we have in our brain also this microtubule, and there is also a theory that these microtubules are the seat of consciousness, or that consciousness, the phenomenon of consciousness actually belongs to our microtubules, not to this brain depolarization of or depolarization of neurons. Yeah? So, I mean, these microtubules are in our neurons, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
and they're everywhere in the body, right? They're not just located in
yes, yes. But what I wanted to say is that this is one part. So this whole electromagnetic field is, by this theory, or according to this theory, organized into this very, very complex network. But on the other hand, we have also coherent domains of our liquids, you know, liquid water and so on. So, and this opens the whole theme of homeopathy, for instance, or drinking of this or that water, you know, because so that we have two systems of order in our bodies. So the electromagnetic and the field, which is actually bound to water states. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So this is really kind of the intersection of this is really quantum biology, is it not? The sort of
yes. It is a part of quantum biology. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fascinating. And is this starting, I mean, this is hard science. This isn't some woo-woo thing. So I mean, is this starting to infiltrate into, so, you know, called Western science, where they're recognizing this energy system within the body?
Very slowly. I mean, this is still, you know, on the margin of this science, because we should know that centrally the science, biological sciences, biomedical sciences, concern the biochemistry, biochemical, you know, processes, and genetical. But genetics is also about biochemistry, actually. I mean, this is only a specialized biochemistry, if you ask me. So this level is still the most respected and represents the paradigm of contemporary biomedical sciences. So what is, let's say, supramolecular, you know, is still regarded as something, you know, hazy, you know, fuzzy, something, maybe there is something, but let's be on the firm ground, which means biochemistry, you know.
Where everybody's comfortable.
Yes, yes, but this means that the funds, I mean, because the sciences needs many, I mean, a lot of money, to really to go with researches, with expensive devices and so on, It means that the the mainstream of money goes into this biochemical research, and only a very, very tiny amount into this supramolecular, let's say, electromagnetic and related research.
Yeah, fascinating.
But slowly, slowly,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
the scientists become aware of this level.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting. I mean, even just thinking, the one area where my science research intersects with this is on the navigational side, knowing that all this research about how animals navigate, migrations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a migration
Yes, birds,
scientist by
for
training, right?
instance.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
birds, for instance, I study mule deer, use the electromagnetical system. We know there's a connection between the electromagnetic system and how they navigate. So clearly, even in that
Mm-hmm.
field, there are mechanisms that are enabling them to traverse the earth,
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
basically blindly. They don't have to be shown the way,
Yeah, yeah.
because they can use their electromagnetic system innately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll hopefully get there. It's a slow turn to turn the the wheel.
Very slow, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
to wind our way then to the neorhythm. So really
Mm-hmm.
what I understand you saying is that the electromagnetic system can be more or less coherent, and that
Yes.
can
Mm.
create more or less resonance within the body,
But
and
there is an optimal coherence, this is what should be achieved, yeah? Okay.
some level of optimal coherence,
Yeah.
and that the neorhythm is designed to use the electromagnetic pulses to
Yeah.
influence somehow that system and bring it into greater resonance. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then let's use that as our gateway to the neorhythm and talk a little bit about how it works on that side.
Mm-hmm. 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 So actually, it works via a pulsed low-intensity magnetic field. When I say pulse, this means that there are rectangular pulses of this field, so very steep, curve of this
Yeah.
stimulation and so on. And it works in a rhythmic way, so when let's say, this electro, our electromagnetic field becomes, you know, uh, too, how to say, so not so coherent, yeah. When it is
Disordered.
noisy or
Yeah.
disordered, yeah, then it helps bring it back to more order. And this is important because we know that we can become also ill or get cancer from, this aggressive, let's say, microwaves, of our mobile phones or whatever, Wi-Fi and so on. So what's the difference now? Because this is also electromagnetic field. It is the very important difference because this electromagnetic field from, let's say, neorhythm is pulsed, and it goes in regular pulses, that our organism can then use to regain its own rhythm, it is a helping field actually, while these other fields, impinging on us, like microwaves, are very disordered. You can see this if you have, even if you're on your smartphone, you can measure the other fields and you will see how they are actually disordered.
Oh, I didn't know that.
uh,
Is that an app that you can use?
yes, yes, you can. You
Okay.
just, yeah.
What's I'd love to put the name of the app in I'd love to know what that is that you can.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
Put that.
and since the stimulation passes our brain, or head, and it is repetitive. Sometimes this is called repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation, or shortly RTMS. Now we should know that this classical RTMS, this repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation, is based on high intensity pulses up to and beyond 1 Tesla. This is a very great, strong field. You know, you cannot pull this apart if you
Right.
can. 1 Tesla, very difficult. Okay.
Right. And these are the ones that are used in like a hospital setting or a clinic.
Yes, yes. So it therefore works through magnetic induction of neuronal impulses, so-called spikes of action potentials. And by this, it is an invasive field, you know. It forces neurons into firing. The neorhtym represent the so-called low-intensity RTMS that would be actually better named as PEMF. This means pulsed electromagnetic field stimulation. And this is of a much lower intensity and is absolutely non-invasive, which means that it does not force our brain into certain states, but gently works through resonance with the already established brainwaves. It only strengthens waves that are already in our brain and need to be reinforced.
Okay.
So
it's
this
more
would
of
be,
an, it's like an entrainment principle. Like
yes, yes. Actually, it works through entrainment. When we searched for this stimulation regimes or programs of neorhythm, this was our main theme, you know, entrainment.
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So it's kind of it entrains the brain waves that are already there that are in resonance and helps to strengthen them. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And it is non-invasive. This
And
is important.
non-invasive. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it gently does that on the in the like with the neorhythm, it's on the brain, it's on the head.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
working on, if you are, alpha or some theta, some more relaxed states, then
Yes,
it would help
yes.
to promote those within the body.
Also on gamma, there is one program on
Yep.
gamma waves. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, right. So on the more, the more energetic or focused
Mm-hmm.
brain waves. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So in terms of the research, I know you've led a couple of studies, and I noted when I looked at those studies that the effect was there, but it was a little bit weak, at least in the relaxation study that I looked at. And I was curious about that study looked to be fairly short term. I mean, you were brought in those 24, I think 22, 24 participants. And I'm curious about the longer term effects and if you are looking at that and if you've been studying that, because it seemed to me that there could be that some of these effects could be really something that you would see over 3-4 months of use, kind of repeated use, as opposed to a more shorter term use. Didn't
Yes, yes, sure. But you know, we actually, when you do the research, you are always limited.
yeah,
So we decided to do the research that is actually normal in bioelectromagnetics, you know, that you expose volunteers to some fields, of course, under the conditions of clinical research, so that this is placebo-controlled and randomized and so on. And then you just look at the difference between the stimulation group and the control group, you know, which is not exposed, but nobody knows when it is he is or she is exposed or not, you know.
right.
Here, even the assistant, this is double-blind experiment. It was double-blind. Yes, and you're right. There may be certain short-term effects, and we notice them. But to know the more long-term effects, it is a difficult thing to design such research that would, you know, avoid other possible influences, you know, through such time. really to isolate what was done only with neorhythm through all this time. But nevertheless, we are just finishing the research, let's say the so-called follow-up research of these two programs of attention and relaxation. And so very soon we will have the integrated and summarized results of these two follow-up. And there were a lot of participants, I mean, a little less than 1,000, you know, in this research from the whole world, mostly from USA, you know, I mean that, I think that some 80% or even more were from United States. But what we follow here is actually what you asked. So what were the long-term effects and how the people are who use this program, you know, are satisfied with it. And we composed questionnaires about this. But this is let's say the shortcoming of this is that we don't have this placebo group. It's not placebo controlled, you know.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's true that through long time, the placebo vanishes, you know, through time. You cannot fool somebody for a very long time. So if something doesn't work, it will show itself sooner or later.
Yeah. So, okay, so you have a longer term study underway right now with 1,000?
It is finished, only we are just summarizing the results. So we are not yet finished with the analysis, you know.
Oh, okay. Okay. And
Yeah.
is it showing an effect?
Of course, yes, it is. I looked at the results, composed, so we are composing now the report. And yeah, it is difficult for me just now to say in percentage, for instance, but yes, actually, I think that I have something here. So, but mostly of, for instance, this relaxation program, or no, for every program. If you are, yeah, for instance, yeah, we have these possibilities of answers completely satisfied, satisfied, neither satisfied or dissatisfied, and dissatisfied or completely dissatisfied. So these were 5 possible answers, and if you look at them, we see that, sorry for a moment, just to move this. Yeah, the highest proportion of completely satisfied were with the users of theta meditation. This is program, you know, one of these programs. So around a little less than 26%. But on the whole, the satisfied or most satisfied were with the improving sleep. So these two categories, most so the completely satisfied or satisfied is more than 60% actually from this follow-up. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you look at deep relaxation, because this was the research that we did, yeah, more than 60%, around, let's say, 65 or so percent are completely satisfied or satisfied. And very little percentage of dissatisfied, while the enhancing of mental capacity, this is this vigilance, they're at 60% of completely satisfied or satisfied. So these are now the results of the whole, but we are still summarizing the results of, if we go into the details of the questions, you know, and there relation among different
Yeah.
questions. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Oh, fascinating. Have you looked at any long-term changes in EEGs of people using the device, like over the?
No, this is not, because long term in EEG, you know, there are so many factors that can you know, provoke changes in this EEG. It would be very difficult, as I told you, to find that there are some long-term effects and that they can be described to the use of neorhythm, for instance, of relaxation program. I mean, yes, it can be done, but it would demand, let's say, at least 100 of volunteers. This is a very expensive research and would need a lot of time, a lot of stuff, a lot of money, and so on. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
not so easy to,
Well,
to
maybe somebody
accomplish it.
watching will be interested in funding it.
Yeah, maybe, okay.
You know, maybe there's a group of people on Heart Mind Alchemy Lab.
Yeah,
We have over
okay,
1,000 people. Maybe they'd be interested.
okay. Yeah.
One thing that I noted in that you discussed in the research is this influence on subharmonics and having a neorhythm and noticing there's the dominant wave and the subharmonic wave. And just, can you describe a little bit about that, what we know about, and you know, low, like really ultra low frequency waves and how they might be carrier waves or promote, you know, brain waves in something like, you know, alpha or even gamma.
Yes. So if we go to let's say to this wave bands,
Yeah.
then we have this, let's say, 5 bands of frequencies, like delta waves are around 0.5 to 4 hertz, and then from 4 to 8 hertz theta, and 8 to 12 alpha, 12 to 35 beta, and gamma above that. Yeah. So by using PEMF stimulation, this pulsed stimulation, magnetic, you can provoke the resonance between this and waves, so that you can enhance certain waves. Because you should know, you have all these waves simultaneously.
Yeah.
You are not limited only to one band
Yeah.
at the time, you know.
Yes, I
This
explain that
only,
to my clients as well. Yes.
yes, this is only preponderance of one of these, you know. So
Right.
that during sleep you have the most, let's say, delta, very slow, but you have also others. And when you are awake, you have a preponderance of, let's say, beta, but also others, you know.
Yeah.
And now, so you can move this equilibrium, you know, towards some of this certain band, you know, by stimulation from this magnetic field. So your question was about subharmonics and
Sort of
harmonics.
how they
Yeah,
work. Yeah.
Well, what is interesting is that you can work this with, let's say, basic frequencies like 4 hertz, for instance. And with 4 hertz, you are just in between delta and theta region of brainwaves. So if you use now, for instance, a subharmonic, the first subharmonic would be just the half of it, so it would be a 2 hertz. Yeah.
Yep.
With 2 hertz, you are in the delta region. You can provoke sleep, but it will work also in this theta region in a way, a small wave, you know, because its harmonic would be, the first harmonic would be its double, you know, frequency, so 4 hertz. Or if you use 4 hertz, its first harmonic would be 8 hertz. And so if you use 4 hertz, you also has some influence on 8 hertz and 16 hertz, and some, waves in between. This is like a harmonic scale in music,
Yeah.
when you have,
Yeah.
third and so on, actually, and if you are in this regime in PMF, you should know that PMF do not mean sine waves, like this,
Okay.
sinusoidal
Yep.
waves, but as I told you, it's just rectangular waves like this,
Yeah.
quickly up and so on.
Okay.
And by this, you have many, many, many harmonics of this basic vibration. So actually, you flood your organism with many frequencies that are tuned to this basic frequency. So
Okay.
you have a basic frequency and its many harmonics. The
Sounds
more
like a
steep,
step
the
function.
more steep this curve, more of these harmonics are there, and they are of higher strength, in comparison with the basic strength of the basic frequency. So, and the practice of bioelectromagnetics, the research, empirical research of bioelectromagnetics showed that it is good to have many of these frequencies, which mean that it is good to have a very steep curve of simulation.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I did not know that about the rectangular.
Yeah.
Interesting. So last question, I'm aware of time, but if you indulge me one more question.
No problem.
Okay, great. I'm curious about gamma, altered states of consciousness, if you've had discussions about that with the NeoRhythm. And as a sidebar question, I'm practicing lucid dreamer as well, and I'm curious about lucid dreaming and use of NeoRhythm in lucid dreaming. And I had the idea the other day. I know that the standard way to use NeoRhythm is to use the delta, setting. You put it under your pillow. Have you talked about putting it on a gamma setting and putting it under your pillow to induce lucid dreaming? Do you know if anybody's tried that? So that's a two-part question on a little bit more of the altered states of consciousness world.
Well, when I was thinking just recently about this possibility of inducing lucid dreaming, the best thing would be the composition of delta waves and gamma waves. So let's say 2 or 4 hertz and 40 hertz at the same time. 40 hertz was found very strong, I mean, with many implications,
Right.
Now one thing would be to try to do this experiment with 40 hertz. If you are a good sleeper, if you sleep well, then there's no problem to go into sleeping.
Yes.
Because while you're dreaming, or especially if you are on the lucid dream, so then you have this gamma brave band too, and you can try with just put 40 hertz and see what happens, but of course you should go into sleep. So now one possibility is, I think that the program as it is now, I can speak with Marco because he's a producer of this. Maybe he can change this. I will speak with him about this possibility.
Okay.
So that that would be a program that would combine this 4 hertz and 40 hertz, But otherwise, you can have 2 different neorhythm devices, and one with 4 hertz, on the other hand, one with 40 hertz, and see what happens. Yeah?
I only own one, so
okay, yeah.
But
okay,
that's so interesting. So and that actually leads me to a slightly different question. I thought I understood that there's a new app coming out for owners of the NeoRhythm that would allow you to customize some of the settings. Is that
Yes.
true? And could I do that when I get that app? Could I do this 4 and 40 hertz?
I think that only one frequency uh, could be used, and you can use among many frequencies. I did the work, of choosing this frequency, so I actually made this background, for this frequency, so they are in tune with the so-called GM scale. I don't know if you looked at in my literature, you will see this GM scale.
Yes,
This
I
is
do remember.
Gessing-Meyer. Yeah, okay. So and I wrote also about what you can expect from different frequency uses, but I think that the combinations are not here in the program, but I will ask Marco if he can do this.
Let's ask him. I bet yeah, I would be fascinated to try it. And that would be in a scenario where you'd put it under your pillow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. And then sort of as the subtext to that, in kind of more, Tibetan, there's been a wealth of research on the kind of meditation side about long-term Tibetan meditators producing these, gamma states that induce high states of, consciousness. Is that something that you've looked into with the NeoRhythm, sort of samadhi type states of unity
Well,
consciousness?
I would say that still the most important thing is the meditator, him or herself, I mean, this is the most important thing. You can only help to achieve certain state. Actually, I was really surprised when I noticed the effect of theta program, with 4 hertz and something a little more than 10 hertz. This is a program of theta meditation, it's neorhtym, yeah?
Yep.
So it can help you to achieve, to facilitate concentration, this, what Hindus called sattva, so rhythmic rhythm in brain. And actually this tackles the rhythmic pulses of this the biofield we spoke about before. And yes, this may facilitate the meditation process, but I think that still the meditator should then do the essential work by him or herself.
Yes. So it's more like an assistant to maybe take you to the next level. But
Yes,
you
an
have to
assistant.
you're
Yeah.
doing the main work as the meditator, and it's maybe
Yeah.
helping get you to the next level.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is similar to when you help to regain health by whatever alternative method. It only helps your body to heal itself, I mean, the self-healing, and here is something that you must do by yourself. It can only help you to achieve this state.
It's more like an active device. It's like you're an active participant in this.
Yeah.
Rather than, I mean, there is some passive effect, I think, but with meditation specifically, it feels like it's more an active. That's how it works best, is what I'm hearing you say. It's okay, interesting. And then last question, I noticed on the alpha synchronization setting, it says alpha, calming and synchronization. Is the synchronization just for the alpha setting, or wouldn't all of the settings produce some level of synchronization? I thought that was kind of
all levels, of course. I mean, this is entrainment, so whatever you have, if it is about 40 hertz, you have this gamma entrainment, and if it is about 4 hertz, you have delta, and so on.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Great. For all levels.
Okay. Fascinating. Oh, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. Is there anything else that you want to add before we sign off? Anything else we haven't covered that
I don't know.
Okay.
Just greet you all.
I am so appreciative of you taking the time to give to the audience today. I just am, your wealth of research and contributions in the field of biological coherence and then contributions to the NeoRhythm are really profound, and it's really a joy and a pleasure to talk to you today. So thank you so much for making the time.
Yeah, thank you too for invitation and to give this possibility to speak about.
Absolutely.
Okay, so,
I look forward to a further conversation about perhaps a new lucid dreaming setting for the NeoRhythm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good.
That
Good.
would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And thank you everybody who joined. Dr. Jerman, please stay on. I'm just gonna say goodbye to the audience. So thank you everybody who's been watching, and just really appreciate this wonderful community and all the sharing. Again, just warms my heart, and I feel like it is really valuable to a lot of people. So thank you everyone. And if you are interested in the work that I do as a human potential coach, on coaching people on meditation, on device use like the NeoRhythm and others, you can find me at heartmindalchemy.com. Also leading a new dream workshop with Stephen Altair and Kiefer O'Sullivan coming up. So you can go to our website and find out more about that too. So anyway, thank you everybody. Hope you have a wonderful day.